have a full session, so this one is going to have, and we can start with Niranjan ji, who is the man behind the man responsible for responsible luxury. So he should be the first person to talk about, well, you know, everyone knows, and we can't kid ourselves, that if it wasn't financially viable, nobody would be doing green initiatives. I think, unfortunately, that is the truth in many of the cases. So, sir, let's start by finding out about HVAC and what are does it really pay off? Do you think it does? I'm sure it does, but in what way? And how, can we add to it how technology, the improvements in technology is making it more and more cost efficient?
Bikramjit, I'm going to step back from your question and give a larger picture before we come to the subject of HVAC. There's an author called Paul Hawken. He's written a book called The Ecology of Commerce. And in his book, he's mentioned that the sustainable development practices that we are following currently is akin to bailing out the Titanic with a teaspoon. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever we have heard since morning is all low-hanging fruit. It should have been done 20 years back. And what we need is transformative change. And why? If you recall, last year 185 leaders met in Paris to sign the Paris Accord to transition towards low carbon economy globally. Each country has set a target for reducing its emissions, and India has set a target of reducing its emission by 30% below 2005 level. And we are already in that path because the person who has recently released the financial surgical strike has set a target of 175 gigawatt of solar by 2022, as opposed to the previous government's target of only 20 gigawatt. 8th of August this year was celebrated, it should be called a mourning day, not a celebration day, Earth Ecological Overshoot Day. In simple language, it means that we are on a 40% overdraft with regards to all resources. And the message is very clear because just recently in Marrakesh, there was a meeting again by United Nations, COP22, and now they are working out the nuts and bolts of how to work towards low carbon economy. So the message is very clear that you either shape up or shape out. And to say that how does the investment in green technology pay off, I would kind of reframe this topic to say, how do we look at design so that we don't have to invest? And I'll give you some very good examples of my erstwhile chain, the ITC Gardenia. I don't know how many of you have visited it. They don't have air conditioning in the lobby. There's a very fine example of, reducing costs by design intent. And if they had air conditioned that place, I think John will correct me, they would have put at least 100 or 200 tons of AC for that big lobby which they have, right?
And I know for a fact that that lobby you can't stand for very long because the breeze is so high.
And it's very cool also. Yeah. Similarly, there's an example from Singapore where the consultant said that for a certain process, you require 90 kilowatt hours of energy per hour. And then there was a unique engineer who redesigned everything and embarrassingly brought it down to 7 kilowatt per hour. Wow. The point that I'm trying to make is that we are not putting enough pressure on the consultants to think differently. With due respect to them, they are doing cut-paste job. It's very easy to do cut-paste job unless, as hotel owners, you step on their tail and say, look, if this is the standard, how do you reduce it by half? Only when you put that kind of pressure, it's going to happen. And I'm also amused with this theme, how does the investment in green technology pay off? It tantamounts to saying, hey, don't invest in your health. If you don't invest in your health, you have a problem. So I think we need to take a deeper look at the subject of design from design stage, as is being done in the green building concepts, and then find that you will be downsizing your HVAC. And again, this example stems from my old office, the ITC Green Center, not too far from here, where we did something called sun path analysis before the building was up and found what is the heat load at 7 in the morning, 12 in the afternoon, etc., etc. And accordingly, we applied high albedo paint on the rooftop to reduce 47% heat gain, right? We put smart glass so that the light would come in and the heat would stay out. Those technologies are available there. And I think Zubin might have mentioned in the morning that ITC Moria is the first hotel in the world to install the solar concentrator. So ITC Hotel is now moving away from, just reducing resources incrementally to disruptively. 5 of its hotels are now operating on wind energy. And the example of the solar concentrator in Moria is an example of biomimicry. Now we need to see how do we copy nature to reduce our energy cost. The sunflower tracks the sun and gives you sunflower oil. The solar concentrator in Moria tracks the sun and displaces 13 liters of diesel per hour for 8 hours a day for 10 months in a year. Now, some people may ask, what's the payback? When we invested, the cost was about 1.5 crore or something of that sort. But we are not in this business for 5 years or 6 years. It's a long-term business because this technology has a shelf life of 20, 25 years. And that brings me to the question now, and it's a management question from design stage. Are we doing life cycle analysis and life cycle costs seriously? To my mind, it's not happening on the scale that it should be happening.
David, let's just go with the design question that Niranjan said. And your hotel has been redone from top to bottom. What have you guys put in? What did you see from the old hotel which you could improve on in your newer place?
I must admit, thank you for that insight. I learned a lot from Mr. Khatri. I think going with him, the design issues are a major concern. People don't think about it. 9 times out of 10 architects are not involved with hotels, and we have massive ballrooms we keep boasting with the highest ceiling in town and those sort of things, but they just absorb AC like there's no tomorrow. And the other thing is also they have doors which open out onto open areas. So, do you install fans which then blow the ladies' hairs away? And then they complain. Those sort of things have to be taken into serious consideration. But at the hotel, since we've changed, yes, I think the glazing of the glass is a big factor. Reflectors, that's really helped a lot. And plus, training of the staff, put the blinds down in the middle of summer, and those sort of things plays a very big part. And water. I'm amazed how cheap water is in this country, and it's in short supply. So we've installed all the regular things, the push button and the lights, switches and those sort of things. But what the significant saving that we've made using, being green is in our laundry. We've gone to low temperature wash. And this was introduced probably about 7, 8 years ago. But I'm surprised there are not many properties that have taken it up. So I urge everyone, please go for it. The chemicals are a bit more expensive, but it saves you on heating and the consumption, and the savings are significant. So that's what we've done. We have solar, those sort of things, but really in the scheme of things, they're minuscule. I don't think they were thought about because we can generate enough electricity to heat our water just through the steam processing of our laundries. So really the solar is defunct. It's just there because it's a requirement and that sort of. What would probably be better is generation of electricity. That would be really good something to think of, and wind farms and those sort of things. But the cost involvement is pretty huge.
Dhananjay, your hotel is one of the older hotels in the city, and you guys have also been doing a little bit of tinkering. Right. So where do you see, what are the challenges of trying to, without really breaking the hotel down, to improve, and how have you improved your HVAC performance? What are the investments you've made, and what is the difference that you're getting?
Sure. I would like to bring to your attention our hotel is 1982 built. So it used to be Crown Plaza Suryaa, the Suryaa New Friends Colony Hotel. What we started is we have moved from electricity boiler to the PNG boiler, which has given us 50% straightforward bottom line profitability. Also, what we have done is all the halogen lights, which was 50 watts, now it is converted into LED. It is only 6 to 8 wattage per unit. What happens, it's very important for us to understand that, return of investment. Return of investment, if you present it in a right fashion, I'm sure any owners would buy in. Like all the panelists also spoke about, return of investment. Yes, of course, investment is higher, but return is much faster. So these are the 2 steps we have taken as of now. The third step, we already have, identified the rooftop where we have solar panel, but not giving better results. So upgrading that. We are also going to change all the pumps which is used for to transport water from bottom to top level. All these motors will be replaced. So that will definitely reduce our energy cost. Earlier we used to run our plant, all 3 plants are running, or 2 plants minimum running. So now we have a system in place that we look at the temperature, and accordingly manually we have to do it because we don't have BMS in the hotel. But in near future we are also planning to install BMS, which is building management system. It will be automatic work on all the HUs will be under control.
You have a busy hotel, and from your segment, you guys are always chasing more business, and sometimes you lose focus on something like HVAC because beyond the point, you look at it as a fixed cost. So you don't look at it. But what are the things that you are doing to make your hotel a more environmentally friendly product and decrease your HVAC?
Well, first of all, I think I would take it from where Mr. Khatri had left, reducing cost by design intent. It's a very important statement. Whatever we are doing right now is incremental. But as Mr. Khatri rightly pointed out, it has to be transformative. It cannot be incremental any longer. I'll share with you a few data which probably is relevant in today's discussion. First is sustainability. I mean, why should we decide to reduce it? United States of America, on an average, per year, buys 1 billion pair of sneakers. With a 300 million population, 1 billion amounts up to 3.5 pairs of sneakers every year. The question is, can the world afford it? The natural resources, the resources that are required to I'm talking about a very basic thing. Similarly, when we talk about sustainability, we have to look at how much resource do we have. An average American, the way he spends his life, or whatever his lifestyle is, if we have to kind of sustain that lifestyle, and if we have to kind of benchmark that lifestyle as a normal lifestyle, then we need 4.5 planets resource to kind of fund that lifestyle. So the point is, whatever benchmarking today we have probably is not good enough. And that's why we probably need transformative change and not incremental change. Second point I would like to come to is, lifestyle change. Why I'm saying this again? Now we are very high on organic farming. Now what is organic farming? Organic farming is nothing but the old way of doing farming. We're coming back to the basics. So, green technology is all about remaining closer to the nature and, not consuming more than what we should to create a negative balance. So, we should consciously, change the way we are doing business, change the way our guests are expecting us to do business. And third thing, like when it comes to water, again, another very, very important resource. India has about 17% of the world population with 4% of usable water. So it's that kind of a skewed ratio we have. But if we look at the consciousness level, it's pretty sad. Even if you are saying that 680 liters per room or 1,000 liters per room, it's not that we can sustain that for a very long time. We have to reinvent ourselves to keep going ahead. So these are the things I would say. Everybody is changing from, say, normal lighting to LED lighting. Everybody is doing, glass glazing. All these things are, I think, everybody by choice, they're doing it. But what is transformative is what we need to find out. And what can be done at the design stage cannot be done later on. So I would say that, we need to have that intent to really have a forward-looking approach and really invest on design right at the time of doing the building. So coming back to the same point, that we are doing everything that is required to be done, but at a regular level. So nothing exceptional that we're doing right now.
Is growing at a phenomenal rate, and you guys are building constantly. And a lot of the design that you guys do for building is a basic form which are followed. So how have you been able to reduce HVAC and make your buildings more eco-friendly at the design stage?
So the green initiatives that impacts HVAC challenges for sure. We have built one hotel in Aero City, which has a 500 rooms hotel, and initially we were thinking we should not go for the green building because of the high cost and all, but it does. Like impact is a huge impact. We have done our building is LEED certified building, and we have done the facade glazing and all. We have done the roof insulation and all. And initially the per room, the air conditioning was coming 1.4 tonnage. By doing the green initiative, it is coming approximately 1.2 ton per room. So it is like the huge saving. If you see in this Aero City hotel, we have got 900 tons installed capacity, and we are only running with 200 tons, and we are managing the 500 room hotel, which is phenomenal. So, and apart from this, I agree with Mr. Khatri that the design, if you start with the designing part initially, then that is, I'm sure that pays off in a longer run, because proper design. If you see lavatory design, we have the key card system. When you remove the key card, everything goes off except the minibar and the charging point. So there's no air conditioning in the rooms. But in other hotels, the AC remains on and it goes to the low speed mode. So it remains on and consuming energy and all. But our case is absolutely different. So you remove the key card and everything goes off. So we are saving in that terms. So effectively you are running air conditioning for more than 12 hours when there are guests inside the room. Otherwise we are not. So like I'm just comparing our adjoining Marriott hotel, which has a almost similar inventory. That is the 516 rooms. We have got the 488. Our consumption is approximately 1600 units per day, whereas Marriott is consuming 3200 units a day. So it's a huge saving. And going forward, what Lemon Tree is decided to go for the LEED certified building only, because definitely it pays a lot for sure.
Mr. Khatri, back to you, I think.
I picked up the soundbite from, what's your name? Dhananjay. I picked up a good soundbite from him. I think he spoke about ROI.
That's right.
ROI in my language is return on imagination. And let's look at examples of return on imagination. According to Government of India TIFAC department, when you construct a building, 40 to 60 kgs of construction debris is created per square meter. What does it indicate? Poor design from drawing stage. And what do we do with the construction debris? Loaded in a truck. It's supposed to be sent to official recycler. I don't know whether Delhi has one, but only 5% goes there. And I'm from Bangalore. And 95% goes quietly into the lakes, and they fill up the lakes. And a city where water table has declined to 1500 feet, and this year the southwest monsoon has failed. Northeast monsoon has not even commenced. And the day before yesterday, the newspaper said that 8 dams in Karnataka supposed to have 10 liters of water, they have only 2 liters of water. So I'm guessing that there's going to be a mass migration from Bangalore. What does it mean? That's the first order consequence. The second order consequence is, okay, I have some relatives in Hyderabad, I'll go and stay with my brother or sister, and they will take me on very unwillingly. And what is going to happen to the infrastructure of that city? Because our whole country is water stressed, more so the north. We are in the red zone. And what is the definition of water stress? We need to understand that. When 1947, when I was not born, I looked 200 years old, the water table was at a depth of 30 feet, and each person had 6 lakh liters of water per person per annum. Today, the population is 125 crores, and the water availability has come down to 1,50,000 liters per person per annum, according to Terry. And by 2020 is going to be 1 lakh liter. And when we reach that figure of 1 lakh liter, I'll cut your throat and you'll try and cut my throat. That's what is going to happen. But it seems that that cutting of the throat will start in Bangalore to begin with. If the northeast monsoon still doesn't come, there's still 15 days gap left. So let's hope for the monsoon to come. And I had the dubious distinction of being posted in Port Blair 28 years back. I'm running a 5-star hotel with my hands tied at the back. And I became a little dyslexic over there. I could not follow the rule book. And we broke all the rules in sustainable development without knowing the vocabulary and without knowing the concepts. And in a span of 4 years, we did not realize that we have moved away from cradle to grave strategy to cradle to cradle. And today, we need to move to cradle strategies. And therefore, since morning I've noticed the whole focus has been very introverted in hotels. I'll do this in my hotel, I'll do this in my hotel. We have not looked at our value chain at all. What's the consumption of water by my meat wala, my fish wala, XYZ? So if I had a egg breakfast this morning, I have consumed 200 liters of water. So we need to understand the embodied water of products and processes, and we are not gone there as yet. So we need to deepen our knowledge in this domain, take the help of specialists, and work with not only the engineers. It's not an engineering-centric job. We are making the mistake of putting the entire load on the engineers' shoulders. The operators have to come online from the drawing stage and say that I don't want my process to consume 10 liters, I want this process to consume 2 liters. How you do it is your problem.
Can I ask you a question here? Is that, do you think that a push is needed from the administration, from a law side, for people to actually start doing it? Because a lot of hotel owners don't care beyond a certain point.
Very good question. In a country like ours, black money comes out when there's a surgical strike. We don't want a surgical strike to happen through nature's route. Yeah. And therefore, if we create our own surgical strikes and disrupt the standards, then others will copy us.
I think last comments from all of you. Start with David.
I went through a Category 5 cyclone when I was working in Fiji, and it wiped out the entire water plant, and we had no water for 10 days. We learned innovative ideas how to have clean filtered water. And I'm really surprised here that it's not a major concern.
We don't need a Category 5 cyclone to actually, unfortunately, we don't need it.
But I've seen the water table go down from, as he said, 30.
You're in Gurgaon.
It was 150, we're 300 feet. And I must admit, hats off to our owners. They've invested in major water tanks. But we did, and we lasted, the last rain gave us about 10 days worth of water from those pits. And they're going to make some more. So, I know it's not a big amount, but it's something that assists it. But no, it really surprises me the way water is wasted here. And I think I learned from that, and I'm really conscious, like people, staff even shaving, just leaving the water on, brushing their teeth, those sort of things, just those basics.
A lot of these people don't do it at home. They do it when they're in a hotel. I have paid the money for my room, so I will use the water.
So we've actually started a training program for the basics on, just with the people who are coming in, a lot of our casual staff and those sort of things, because it saves us money. For instance, I know we've started green meetings and stuff. We don't have bottled water and those sort of things, just small, but they're just the tip of the iceberg, really. There's, we have a lot of power outages, so huge fuel consumptions. Those things need to be rectified. And the line here, it's different. In this country, the line usually is from the road to your building, but from here, it's from the pump house to us. And we have a lot of damage and those sort of things. So those need to be addressed.
Dhananjay, you don't have so many power outages?
We do actually, but now we are moving on to PNG, which has helped us a lot, especially for the laundry services, laundry boilers. Also, as I mentioned about the LED lights, 50 watt versus 8 watts. I think most importantly for a hotel, older hotel, new hotel of course, design is the most important key for any hotel. The old running hotels, I think we need to have experts coming and advising as far as our HLP is concerned, because that is almost, for an older hotel is about 20% of your total earning goes straight away in HLP expense, which is quite a lot. So I think we must take a step towards, switching off light, changing the LED bulbs, having a better efficiency of our FCUs and the plants which is running. That will definitely help us.
Two things I would like to add here. One is, as I mentioned, that lifestyle change and consciousness. I think it has to be there, because otherwise we are headed for a disaster. And if we keep on thinking that incrementally we will change and sort out the issues, it's probably will be too late. So any technology becomes affordable when it becomes a huge scale. And many of these things like LED, like solar, all of these things are still very, very prohibitively expensive for many places. But once it reaches that scale, that critical scale, it is going to become much more affordable as well. So I think through a mandate, there are a lot of these green technologies which has to be introduced, so that the scale reaches that much sooner, and obviously it becomes that much more affordable. And secondly, I think another thing as hoteliers we must look at doing is capacity utilization. Like November is a very busy month, and we did not do anything different in November, but our HLP cost in November was 8%, because we ran packed house throughout the month. So obviously, if we look at this way of doing business, obviously it will stress less on HLPs.
What we keep is the baseline very high. So like in the previous season, I was hearing the per room approximately 2,000 liter per room, which is a huge water consumption. What we are maintaining in Lemon Tree is 560 liters per room, occupied room. So not only the I'm telling you about the water consumption, but if we see the other thing also, like Mr. Khatri told about the design part. And I will give you one of the example in Bengaluru, which is just situated near the Ulsur Lake. In the offices, there were air conditioning of 40 tons. So we have switched off the complete air conditioning. We have put the small treated fresh air, because the Bengaluru temperature is moderate. That is working very well. Like from last 2 years, it is working very well. So it is like it should come within. I think that will help a lot.
So one of the things that I think about implementation of technology is that it's a lot like traffic in Delhi. Everyone rushes to the red light, and then when it turns green, you're waiting for someone to move forward before you do. So I think that is the big issue. No one wants to move forward first. Or they're sitting and thinking, how we'll see how that works, then we'll do it. Sir.
We focus too much on technology. York chillers and LED lights and what have you. We are a sun-drenched country. We need to use daylighting. And again, right, the ITC Green Center in Gurgaon, if we had gone for regular glass windows, we would have used 630, and if we had made a regular building, we would have used 635,000 units of energy per annum. Because we introduced the concept of daylighting, we are using only 135,000 units of energy per annum. And look at the opportunity which exists in all the existing buildings. There's a great opportunity for retrofitting. And the second part, again, coming back to water, Bangalore is a fine example where I used to be under the blanket in the month of May, June 1968.
Even now, May, June is very nice.
Well, I'm living there. I'm living there.
April is bad.
Because you go from Delhi.
Okay, March, April, fine.
March, April. These
Okay,
are the
yeah.
bad months.
Okay.
April
And
will be AC.
then it was a non-fan station. Then it became a fan station. Now it's AC station for 2 months, of course. And then from Garden City, today it's called a garbage city. The point that I'm trying to make is that when large hotels come up, they focus so much on the per chart and the brick and mortar that they forget to set up a nursery when the project starts. Because if you have plants in the nursery, and if the project is going to take 4 years, in 4 years' time it will gain a height of about 8 or 12 feet. Calculate what will be the cooling effect of those plants when we are put over there, and factor this in when you're designing your HVAC. Then perhaps you'll find there's a change in requirement. And this kind of detailing will only happen when the engineers become bioengineers. Today we have electrical engineers, civil engineers, and mechanical engineers. They're thinking in silos. They need to understand from nature and see how that dimension can be brought without investment.